The ends justify the means. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. The more sand has escaped from the hourglass of our life, the clearer we should see through it. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. One who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Never was anything great achieved without danger. Politics have no relation to morals. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. A prince who is not wise in his own affairs will not be able to maintain power for long. In war, the moral is to the physical as 3 is to 1. There is no other way to guard yourself against flattery than by avoiding it. He who becomes a prince through the favor of the people should always keep their favor, for without it he cannot remain in power. The greatest benefit of fortune is that it makes us see things as they are, and so prepares us for what's to come. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. A ruler should not concern himself with the moral value of his actions, but with their effectiveness. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise. A wise ruler does not trust his people entirely, as men are fickle and unreliable. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. War cannot be avoided, it can only be postponed to the advantage of others. The people are much more likely to be swayed by their emotions than by reason. If you want to be powerful, you must appear to be so. A prince must not have any other objective or thought, nor take anything as his art, but war, its institutions, and its discipline. Men are driven by 2 principal impulses, either by love or by fear. A prince must be a lion and a fox. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. The more a prince is in need of fortune, the more he has to be prudent. The greatest virtue in a prince is the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. To understand the nature of power, one must first understand the nature of the people. The best fortress a prince can have is the affection of his people. History is the teacher of life. It is better to be impetuous than cautious. The prince who is loved is not always the one who is respected. The greatest vice in a ruler is inconsistency. Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and deceivers, and you must take that into account in your dealings with them. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. The best way to predict the future is to create it. It is far safer to be feared than loved. A ruler who is loved is not always secure. He who does not punish evil commands it to be done. A man who is deceived by another cannot complain, for he is equally at fault. The wise man adapts himself to circumstances, as water shapes itself to the vessel that contains it. The experience of the past helps us better understand the present. In a republic, the foundation of liberty lies in the willingness of the people to defend it. A prince who is not able to defend his state has no reason to be called a prince. The best soldiers are those who are motivated by honor, loyalty, and pride. The best way to avoid criticism is to do nothing. He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life. It is better to act boldly than to act cautiously. The moral force of a prince is determined by his ability to adapt to changing circumstances. The power of a prince is most effective when it is unpredictable. Men are more willing to follow a leader who gives them a sense of purpose. A prince must never let the trust of the people be shaken. Fortune favors the bold. The best way to defend a state is through the loyalty of its citizens. A prince must always have a plan for dealing with crisis situations. Those who rise to power through violence and deceit are the most dangerous. A ruler should never trust anyone who has too much power. The political landscape is constantly shifting, and a ruler must adapt to survive. People's trust is the foundation of any ruler's power. The ultimate goal of power is the preservation of the state. A prince must be able to balance mercy and severity. The best way to gain loyalty is through generosity. A ruler who is feared is in control. The strength of a ruler lies in his ability to manipulate the masses. A ruler's actions must always serve his state. A wise ruler knows when to be ruthless and when to show mercy. The will of the people is a powerful force. A ruler must not let his enemies grow too powerful. A prince must keep his promises, but not be bound by them when they no longer serve him. Success in war is the key to political power. The public must be constantly reminded of the ruler's power. A ruler must understand the power of perception. Fear is the greatest motivator. A prince must always act with the future in mind. The masses are easily influenced by appearances. A ruler must be ready to sacrifice anything for the preservation of the state. In politics, it's not enough to be just competent. The prince who is clever knows how to conceal his true intentions. A ruler must avoid being hated by his people. Politics is a game of manipulation and control. The people must never be allowed to see their leader in weakness. The prince who does not fear the consequences of his actions will not be effective. The prince who believes in his own infallibility will soon lose his power. A prince must always be ready to adjust his tactics. The most dangerous enemy is one who is underestimated. The political landscape is shaped by the actions of a few powerful individuals. A wise man is not necessarily a good man, but a good man is always a wise man. In times of war, it is not enough to defend, one must also attack. Men are often ruled by appearances more than by reason. The prince must be careful with his friends because it is often difficult to distinguish them from his enemies. A leader must not only be strong in war but also in peace. A prince must seek advice but be cautious of those who offer it. He who has no state or power must be silent. The best way to maintain power is to surround oneself with capable and loyal advisors. A prince must make use of cruelty in the right way and at the right time. It is better to be cautious in one's dealings with others than to risk everything for a quick gain. A prince who has gained power through fortune or inheritance must work hard to maintain it. A good leader understands that the pursuit of virtue is not the same as the pursuit of glory. A leader who does not change his approach according to the times is doomed to failure. The success of a prince lies not only in his ability to rule, but in his ability to win the support of the people. Ruthlessness, when necessary, can be a tool for maintaining power. Power is obtained through the manipulation of the masses, and once obtained, it is maintained by keeping them obedient.